We are in a standby position regarding, of course, peaceful use of nuclear energy here in Indonesia. We have a representative of Rosatom. Rosatom, it's a Russian state agency for nuclear energy. And we are ready to propose Indonesia large nuclear power plant, smaller, modular, floating, inland. We have anything.
Please don't forget, both of those nations have nuclear, Your Excellency. Indonesia, we don't have any. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bennix channel, the biggest economic and geopolitical channel in Indonesia. And now we have a very special guest joining us today, the Ambassador of Russia, His Excellency, Ambassador Sergei Tolchanov. Thank you for having us today.
My pleasure.
We have a lot of questions, and most of this is an intriguing questions. But before we go through that, Mr. Ambassador, we just learned that you actually have spent quite some times in the region in Southeast Asia. You have been working as a diplomat. You have served in Vietnam, in Cambodia, and now you have been here in Indonesia for almost 2 years. So we were wondering, from your personal experience, you have been living here for 2 years. What has impressed you the most about Indonesia and Indonesian people?
First of all, I would like to say that I spent all my diplomatic career in Southeast Asia, and it's almost soon I will have a kind of, let's say, anniversary. I will celebrate 40 years as a diplomat.
Sorry, 40 years.
40 years as a diplomat, and I started it, as you mentioned, in 1988 in Cambodia. It was my first mission. But here in Jakarta, I'm already for the second time. And I have been posted here previously as deputy head of the mission from 2008 to 2013, so 5 years more. And now almost 2 years as ambassador, so almost 7 years in Indonesia. It's a little bit less than I spent in Vietnam, when I spent about 9 years.
9 years in Vietnam.
2 different missions also. But, it was maybe almost 20 years ago, it was a big surprise for me to be posted in Indonesia, in this archipelago country. But when I came to Jakarta, I find out that people here are very friendly, very smiling. And now, even in current geopolitical situation, when I'm saying to Indonesians that, I am a Russian ambassador, nobody run away. People are very friendly, we are shaking hands, even sometimes shouting hurrah or something else. So it's a friendly country, we have a long history of relations, and people remember this. And it means that I'm here among friends, among partners, and it means that we have a large scope of possibilities to engage in bilateral cooperation or multilateral cooperation. So it means that I'm glad to be here. And now also I can say that I have one personal feature that links me with Indonesia and Jakarta, namely, because 70 years ago, my son was born.
Your son was born
here in Jakarta, not far, by the way, not far from this residence in MMC Hospital, just 300 meters from here. So, and this is for the rest of his life. And every time when I look at his passport, I see that place of birth, Jakarta, Indonesia. So this is also part of my life. I mean,
that's interesting. That's interesting. So we also have one questions. So what food do you like the most here in Indonesia? Indonesian food?
Several, but maybe mostly sop buntut.
Sop buntut?
Yes.
Not rendang?
Not rendang. Maybe I tried sop buntut more frequently than rendang, but nasi goreng, it's also, mie goreng, it's also good, but same kind of rice or noodles I can find in many countries here in Southeast Asia, but sop buntut it's something specific. It maybe also it's make me remind something about Russian sops.
Russian
kinds
soups.
of yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe that's why.
Interesting. And I think we have to talk about the future of relation between Russia and Indonesia and the opportunities of further cooperation and collaboration between our two nations. And this is a very progressive state, what is happening in Middle East, in particular, between Iran and the States. But before we go through that, how would you describe the current situation between Russia-Indonesia relations? And where do you see actually the greatest opportunities for both nations in the coming years?
So since last year, a strategic partnership between the Russian Federation and the Republic of Indonesia has been approved by our two presidents last June in St. Petersburg. And this means that we have comprehensive relations and cooperation in many fields. Of course, we have a very good ties in political fields. We support each other. We have a close views in regarding many international or regional issues. But also we focused on economy, and I believe this is maybe core direction, a core field, because we need something on the basis of our relations, not only history, not only some political declarations, but specific projects, trade, jobs for people here in Indonesia and in Russia, investment projects. So this is what we are working about, and I see many possibilities here in such fields like mining, because some Russian big players are looking for Indonesian markets. Energy, Russia has abundant oil and gas resources, and also we have proven nuclear technologies that we are ready to use here in Indonesia to ensure your energy independence and energy self-sufficiency. And also not forget about, let's say it's, I can say, humanitarian cooperation, but mostly like education. We provide scholarships, we have good contacts, so it's about even maybe more than 200 different kind of agreements, MOU between different universities. You've got 1,000 universities here in Indonesia and also hundreds and thousands of universities in Russia. Some of them have very good close relations like academic exchange, student exchange, joint research programs. So everything is possible here. And also we try to focus on ties and activities with Indonesian social organizations, youth organizations, because I usually say that this is the future of our relations, and we need to learn them and give them more information about the history of our relations, and ask them to be active, to promote, to make some initiatives, proposals, how to promote our bilateral relations in different fields. Not, bilateral relations consist not only of big projects, huge power plants or mills, but it's also some small events proposed by a group of students or something else. So, so when, for example, last year, one Indonesian school boys participated in an international program on board of Russian nuclear icebreakers coming to North Pole.
Oh, really?
It was really
Indonesian students.
Yes, one Indonesian, it's not student, a student, but from school. He's, I don't know, so 12 or 15 years old. Just, but he was the winner of one competition organized by my country, and this was his prize. He visited North Pole. amount was 20 or 21 countries, but Indonesian flag was there, and he was there. So this is a small but important success, and this story can maybe let other young people be brave enough to participate in such activities, to come to my country, or to propose to my embassy, to other Russian establishment here in Indonesia, to do something here for our bilateral cooperation.
That's interesting. And in this rapidly changing global order now that you have mentioned about nuclear cooperation, the possibility of doing that, do you think from Russia perspective, do countries like Indonesia is strategic, or do you think Indonesia has some roles in that future?
Of course, this is a big country. Well, your population doubled Russians. So, because in my country, 140 millions, in Indonesia, close to 300 millions.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. Also, big economy. Well, maybe one of so-called unofficial leaders of ASEAN, and also member of quite many important multilateral bodies like G20, APEC, BRICS. So it means that, may I say, together with Indonesia, we are on the same boat. We share a lot of position, views regarding many international issues. And what we have heard from President Prabowo Subianto, that Indonesia would like to continue and follow Bebas active, independent and active foreign policy, and Indonesia try to participate in a settlement of many international and regional crises, including Middle East, by the way, and also that Indonesia pretend to be like voice of global South, because your country have similar view with quite many other developing countries, not only Southeast Asia but in Muslim world. And by the way, also soon, next month, if I'm not mistaken, there will be a next summit of D8, so it's 8 developing Muslim countries, and Indonesia now is chairperson in this body. So this means that Indonesia is an important player, and I'm pretty sure that this is one of the countries that will shape the next world order. Every country will participate, but you know, sometimes some small countries pretend that we are so small, nobody would like to hear us. Indonesia is big enough to fail, and I believe so. It will participate as an important player in international.
Wow, Your Excellency. Wow, that's amazing. So you think that Indonesia will have a big role in the new world order?
I hope so, yes.
And you believe new world order is coming?
Well, this is already shaping. Well, you know, so even this situation in the Middle East means, I believe, that some countries who pretend to be, let's say, hegemons of the world previously, they don't want let situations to be changed, and they try to insist that they have possibilities to not only to lessen and not only to teach other countries how to live, but by military force, but by aggression, change regimes and make landscape what they want. But I believe, and this is position of my country and all other BRICS members, I believe, that these times are already gone, and now a new world order is shaping, and this is a multilateral, multipolar world order, and multilateralism is a very important trend in the global situation, and quite many countries, including Indonesia, I believe so, they really independent, they promoting national interests, and foreign policy serving these national interests. So this means that there should not be the situation like someone who is superior in the world and all the others subordinates. No, we are all independent, we are all equal, I mean the states, and everyone has its voice and everyone has some possibilities through UN, the UN, or through some other multilateral organizations to participate in shaping this new reality.
Do you actually still believe in the United Nations as a neutral organization?
Well, so according to the Charter of the United Nations, it should be like this. This is still, may I say, this is a legacy of the Second World War, because UN was erased just the same year when the Second World War has been stopped. But of course, we see that Western countries using some tools, some mechanisms, they're trying to use the UN bodies in their own narrow interests, and especially using Bretton Woods system, including IMF and World Bank, and also the fact that, unfortunately, I don't know why, but it happens like this, that many key positions in UN structures, in UN bodies, are taken by the Westerns, and even pretended to be international servants and servants of in the framework of UN. Well, they are following Western narratives, and this is not good.
Not
because we really believe they should be neutral, and starting from Secretary General, by the way, because so why they shouting every time when some people are dying in Ukraine and do not take care about Donbass, and now do not take care about the situation in Iran, and also children, and in Palestine also, same situation. So this is a double standards, real double standards, and UN should not work in this manner. But my country and other member of BRICS, we are trying to change the situation. We insist that UN should work in a new way, let's say. What current Secretary General proposed, the Agenda UN 80, this is mostly focused on how to solve financial crisis in the UN, inside the UN or something like that. But we need that some, really it should be maybe like some people are saying that reform by default. So it means that UN should, in some issues, they should go back to the origins, to the Charter of UN, and we should insist and we should promote what has been by fathers of UN, what has been written in the Charter and what principles they propose.
I agree. Yeah.
So, and UN should work in the interest of the whole world, and in this case, UN will survive, I believe, and still be very important issue. Some people pretend that Board of Peace proposed by US President Donald Trump is not only a tool to settle Palestinian crisis, but also some people believe that in the future it could be an instrument to solve other regional crises. So it means that to replace, if not the UN itself, but maybe Security Council of the UN. But, I don't think so. For example, my country and some other big players like China do not support this idea. We're not participating in BOP. And we still believe that the UN Security Council is the only multilateral body that is involved in the settlement of international and regional crises. This is a very important instrument also.
But it's kind of hard to reject the idea of BOP, since we see that a lot of Gulf countries, they are very willingly join the BOP, right?
Yes, quite many countries would like to join BOP, but not everybody has been invited, by the way. And this was, so any international body, they've got some rules, some, well, let's say, charter or rules of procedure, how to become the member through election. But here it's have been done just by personal invitation of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So why some countries has been invited, why some other not, and also not everybody agreed to be. And for example, another one example, the Palestinians, they agreed about the establishment of BOP, but nobody invites them. And now it's a strange situation when it comes to even the settlement of the situation in the Middle East regarding situation in Gaza, in Palestine and Israel. But Israelis, they are members of BOP and Palestinians are not. So how it could work? So who are protecting interests of the Palestinians? It also should be taken into account. So, but okay, let's see. It's just maybe first or second stage of activities of BOP. Let's see what will happen in the future. So we do not reject from the beginning all the initiatives. Let's see.
Let's see how time will tell. Yeah?
Time will. This is question of timing, I believe.
And this brings forth a deeper question about the tensions in Middle East. Like we have seen, like Israel and United States both have becoming very, very aggressive towards Iran, and we have heard so many reasonings. We wonder what is their objective of that, because the president of the United States keep on changing his reasoning, his narrative. First, he said that Iran has nuclear weapon. I think it's the same when they was asked about the Saddam Hussein, war with Saddam Hussein, but later on it's proven that it's fake.
Yes, also pretended that Saddam Hussein has chemical or nuclear weapons. Now there are no Saddam Hussein and no stable regime in Iraq, but the country has been destroyed and without any reason.
Without any reason.
Reasonable reason. So it seems like situation, in my point of view, the situation in Iran is the same. So, well, first of all, regarding, for example, missile programs, but any country can promote such technologies in peaceful means and even for self-defense.
Yes.
This is not forbidden.
Yes, they're right.
So regarding nuclear energy for peaceful means, Iran can do it. And for example, my country, we for quite many years we have such cooperation with Tehran, and we promote peaceful use of nuclear energy. And with the helping hand of my country, Iran constructed nuclear NPP in Bashir. I forgot the name of the city. It still exists. And all these activities are under the very strict control of IAEA.
Yeah.
So, and there are no any proofs that Iran has nuclear weapons. So, so some countries are saying, so this is a war in the Middle East, a war between Israeli, Americans and Iran. But my president and in my country, we are saying very clearly, this is aggression, act of aggression from the United States and Israel against Iran. This is not acceptable, of course. As well as, by the way, other strikes from Iran to some civilian, to the cities and civilian points in countries of Middle East. We believe that the final goal of the Americans and the Israeli to change the regime.
Change the regime?
Yes, this is very clearly, and that's why they started from eliminating president, the leader,
supreme leader, Khamenei,
spiritual leader of Iran, and now even if I'm not mistaken, we have heard that the Americans are ready to kill his successor. So this is very clear. So. And we proceed from the point of view that this is not acceptable.
But CNN said that the goal is actually to give freedom to the Iranian people. Do they need freedom? Why should say that?
So they use such a pretext in many cases, and even in Middle East. So with this famous color revolution and so-called Middle East Spring. Of course, every country people in every country need freedom, but this is not the reason to kill the government and to start the war. There are some other peaceful instruments to discuss this issue and to promote freedom, democracy, anything else. But so even here, it seems to me that it's a kind of double standard. Are you sure that people in America, for example, or in Israel also do not need freedom, or more freedom, or more democracy? Because sometimes when some issues happen, and not everybody in America are happy what has happened in their own countries. So what should anybody start war against them?
They need freedom. Yeah.
Yes, and to bring freedom to them. This is the issue. And for us, it's like several centuries ago, also people from Western Europe and from America, when they come to some countries in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, they told them that we bring progress, we bring democracy, but what it was? Now it's called colonialism. And they try to dominate, to change governments, to establish dependence of these countries economically, politically, even educationally from metropolis. And it looks like now there's still some countries, especially Western countries, would like to live according to rules of previous century, to still try to control, to lecture other people how they should live, what is the freedom, this is not freedom, this is the freedom. This is not good, and such neo-colonialism practices should not be adopted and should not be supported by anyone, and this should not be the practices of modern world here. So this is what we are trying to explain to all the others, to our partners, and that's why Russia is one of the countries who initiated this process of struggling against these neo-colonialism practices, again, including, by the way, this situation that has been just a few months ago in Venezuela, when President has been stolen and President Maduro has been stolen. And also now it's by the other methods, by the other way, but also changing the regime in Venezuela. Now Iran, so question is who's next?
Yeah.
Yes, this. I hope not Indonesia. Yeah.
What do you think? Will Indonesia come to the menu?
Who knows?
Who knows? But Your Excellency, I think this history tells us like this been going for hundreds of years, what the Western have been doing. Do you think the business of delivering freedom and democracy will ever stop? Could it ever stop? I mean, like your example, they've been doing this in Afghanistan, in Africa, in Southern America, many countries. It seems like it never stops. Do you think it will ever stop?
No, I hope it could be stopped, but when the whole world will understand and will say something and acts against such practices. Because, why, for example, Western countries are so active, even in the UN, in other multilateral organizations. For example, now they try to criticize my country regarding the situation around Ukraine, and they managed to adopt a lot of resolutions. Why? Because all the Westerns, EU, NATO members, they are very disciplined. They're voting what is the request from Washington or Brussels. But the rest of the world, what we call global South, global East, is much more numerous. It's more than 100, maybe 50 countries. But some of them are saying we are too small, we are not ready to say something against the Westerns. And that's why we cannot get enough voices, for example,
Right.
to do something. In same situation when it comes to these practices of bringing freedom and democracy. Everybody is sitting in his house and thinking, well, maybe I will be not the next, maybe someone else. So I will keep quiet and maybe they will do not touch me. This is not a good policy, I believe. So if the rest of the world, it's global south, will spoken unanimously, like a single voice against such practices, I believe the Westerns, they will understand that. Even now it's clear that the US, they do not have enough power to pretend to be the leader of the world and to impose their strategies all around the world. Because, well, the biggest part, like China, India, Russia, other countries of Asia and Latin America, Brazil, South Africa, for example, they're strong enough. But now it seems to me that they would like to step by step, starting from Venezuela, now Iran. So it's like also it's maybe colonial rule, divide and rule in this world. So if they will try to change regimes one by one in different countries, so guys, I may say, so we can lose in this game. But I hope that with my country, with other BRICS member states, we do not let the Americans to impose another one dominating and hegemonious world.
But I think, Ambassador, I think it's easy for Russia to say that because